welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Yes, sorry for the abrupt start, cutting around, right? Anyway, we are currently in the Conjurer's Guild, and today we learn how to become a white mage. Serenia, I'm glad you have come. I have a task of a most urgent and confidential nature, and I can think of none other whom I can entrust it. You're doubtless familiar with the Seedseers, yes? Kan-E Senna, Elder Seedseer, leader of the Order of the Twin Adders, and guardian of our fair nation, clearly needs no introduction, but know you also her siblings? The two young Pajals, sister Raya-O Senna and brother A-Ruhn Senna, make for Evershade as we speak. There they will perform a ritual of great import. Verily, such import that it would be no overstatement to say that the very fate of Gridania hangs in the balance. As you well know, we dwell in this forest by the good graces of the elementals, eternal guardians of the Twelfthwood, and most of all the Great One who dwells within the guardian tree. Yet our ceaseless warring and ill treatment of the trees that shelter us have aroused the Great One's ire, and it is only by the quieting, the ritual of which I spoke, that he may be placated. Thus did the two Seedseers set out for Evershade, with nary a guard to accompany them. Then lies the rub, and the nature of a favor I ask of you. By no means would I question the power of the Seedseers, but with the Great One's anger mounting, the Twelfthwood becomes a threatening domain for even the most puissant of conjurers. Pray hasten to Evershade, and see that no harm befalls the two. Remember Evershade in the Central Shroud here? If you started in Gridania, you actually had your fight with the Ascian here. Curses, how can we hope to make it to the Guardian Tree with these ghastly creatures bursting forth like rampant weeds? If I'd known what we are in for, I'd have brought along a wood railer or two. In fact, I dare say we should return and do exactly that. Oh, do not be such a coward, sister. We are Seedseers. These overgrown vermin are no match for us. Bold words, brother. But were they true words, we would have dispatched our enemies and arrived safely at our destination bells ago. A conjurer, are you? Brother E-Sumi, ever a warrior. For once, however, his solicitude is most welcome. Might you help us dispose of these fell creatures? Have you no pride, sister? A Seedseer does not beg the aid of some common adventurer. Enough, brother. We have a duty to perform, a duty that takes precedence over your silly notions of pride. Now, enough talk. Let us see to these pests. The Great One does not approve of our presence here. I think you to stay out of my way, adventurer. Okay, let's fight. Silence. Silence is terrible when you're a caster. Bring down as many of the creatures as you can. it's a soulstone. That crystal. Do my eyes deceive me, or does this adventurer inherit the legacy of A-Towa Cant? It was none other than A-Towa himself who last performed the quieting. No, I do not believe this adventurer's arrival is mere coincidence. Bearer of a soul crystal, inheritor of arcane knowledge long since forbidden by those not of our kind. I know not why it is you he chose, but I believe our great forefather has led you to us today. Ancient traditions dictate that the quieting must be performed by 3 paddles, but I mistake. The ritual is to be performed by 3 white mages. If Master A-Towa truly has chosen this adventurer as a successor... You speak madness, sister. Surely you have not forgotten that Pajal tradition strictly forbids sharing the teachings with those not of our kind. The power of white magic is far too great to risk it falling into the wrong hands. And so you would uphold tradition merely for tradition's sake, even at the risk of incurring the Great One's wrath and bringing disaster upon our forest home? Have you so little faith in your own abilities, sisters? We are seedseers, more than capable of slaying any beast in our way and carrying out the ritual on our own. This petty bickering is getting us nowhere. Adventurer, I'm sorry to trouble you with our silly sibling scribble war. If you've the time, I would speak with you further, but not here. Come to Camp Tranquil and come quickly. Time is of the essence. Okay, and she is just a bit north of Camp Tranquil. Together with a bunch of Muggles. Thank you for coming, adventurer. Forgive my brother's rudeness. He cannot help that he was born with a head of a solid stone. Anyways, I do not believe we have been properly introduced. I'm Raya-O Senna, a Pajal, as you can see, and sister of the elder Seedseer. You're Serenia, yes? Brother E-Sumi has spoken of you, and most highly at that. As you no doubt have heard, my brother, A-Ruhn and I were en route to the Guardian Tree, where the Great One, by whose graces we dwell here, resides. The gentlest of guardians when at peace, a destructive force that knows no bounds when angered. As the Great One goes, so goes our fate. The creatures you helped us dispatch doubtless they too were roused to hostility by the Great One in his anger. You need only look around you to see. The forest grows more and more threatening with each passing hour. So it is that we traveled here to quell the Great One's fury, to perform the quieting. In the days of old, the ritual was, without fail, performed by 3 white mages. With our elder sister occupied with her many duties, my brother and I thought to attempt it on our own. A-Ruhn was quite confident, but I had my doubts. It was then that you arrived, and shortly thereafter became one of a chosen few to be gifted with a white mage's soul crystal. 'Tis no small honor. That gem marks you as an inheritor of the magic of our ancestors. My brother's pride may blind him, but the signs are clear as day to me. You're not Pajali, but A-Towa Cant meant for you to be here today, to perform the ritual with us. A-Towa Cant is known to all as one of the greatest mages in our history, but even more so, he was known for being something of an eccentric. In defiance of tradition, He bid farewell to his forest home, wandering the realm and healing the wounds of the land and its people wheresoever he went. A most admirable course, yes, but alas, A-Towa was never to return. He perished in a far-off land, and having taken no apprentices, his legendary power was lost to us for eternity. Or so I believed, until I met you. And yet, for all his stubbornness, there is some truth to my brother's words. Ancient laws forbid us from sharing the teachings of white magic outside our own kind. There are reasons for this, which I would share with you when the time is right. There are many who would not approve of this arrangement. Still, I am convinced that it is A-Towa's will that will bring you into the fold, and so I welcome you, Serenia of the White. I can feel the Great One's fury welling up even now. Time is short, and yet, while you may have been chosen by A-Towa, I fear your journey as a white mage has just begun. Return to me when you have further owned your skills, and we shall proceed with your training. That is at level 35. White Mage unlocked. Now, as always, when you get a job, you need to equip the Soul Crystal, realign your skills because it counts as a separate job from the Conjurer, and then level a bit. Which I have done off screen right now. When she was a child, Raya-O had quite a temper. She was a sweet little girl now, but a Moogle does not easily forget. Even now, the sound of her voice makes my fur stand on end. Cooper. And region we get here. Probably one of the most important spells of the White Mage. Serenia. Looking ever more of a white mage, and yet I fear you are as ready to perform the quieting as a chocobo chick is to carry a wood whaler clad in full plate. But take heart, for we all must begin somewhere. Today I would teach you the art of communing with the elementals. This is, by any measure, the very foundation of our art, the means by which we preserve harmony between the forest and our people. Not far from Sorrel Heaven, you will find a tree, a mere sapling in the shadow of a guardian tree, but one that has likewise been consumed by anger and fear. I would ask you to placate this tree. The process is quite simple. Stand before the tree and raise your hand. Commune with the elemental that resides within, and attune yourself to them, until your feelings are in absolute harmony. Be forewarned, however, an angry elemental can be as stubborn as my dear brother. Do not be surprised if you find your honest pleas rebuffed and foul creatures sent to drive you from the forest. No matter what happens, you must remain calm. Dispatch the creatures, settle your heart, and speak to the tree once more. If your heart is true, your voice will reach the elemental ere long. Remember this, Serenia. Under no circumstances must you allow your anger and fear to overcome you. As practitioner of white magic, the magic of succor and solace, such emotions are anathema to our very existence. So the exact opposite of what the Dark Knight does. Where? Ah, over there, in Central Shroud, all the way to the west. Leave me in peace, please. Yes, you too, Lindworm. Oh, oops. I wanted to wait until the other mobs are gone, but no, I think that we could. Your communion has furthered your potential as a white mage. And back to Raya-O. A short while ago I sensed a great anger abate. The forest is quieter, more welcoming now. It would seem you have passed your first test, Serenia. The trees are the elementals. The elementals are the trees. The lush verdure of a wood is inseparable from the spirits that dwell within it. But you do not need to hear this from me. Doubtless you felt it for yourself when you healed the tree. Above all else, the elementals prize harmony. When they sense a threat to harmony, they summon forth all the powers at their disposal to expulse it. For so long have we lived in peace with the elementals. Why now do they turn against us? I can offer no answers, only theories. But one thing is certain, we must quell the Great One's fury, and do it soon, lest Gridania bear the full brunt of the forest's wrath. To soothe the forest's wounds and restore harmony, that is our duty as mages of the white, and it is a responsibility that transcends race or nation. I sensed your success in soothing the ailing tree, and am more certain of this than ever. Sadly, many cannot see past established practice and tradition, my dear brother among them. One would hope for a bit more open-mindedness given his youth, but alas, his pride as a pager will not permit it. For my part, I'm not entirely unsympathetic to his concerns, and yet the task before us is too great. We must bring him around to see reason. But how? Forgive me, Serenia. I would be alone with my thoughts for a while. Why not? I will find a way to deal with A-Ruhn. Let's just say level more. That's it. More leveling. And there I'm back. Oh brother, where art thou? Serenia, I owe you an apology. When last we spoke, I promised that I'd find a way to convince my brother to accept you, but I fear he intently refuses to heed my words. Why, the more I try to reason with him, the more he shuts his ears to me. All pride and no common sense, that one. I can scarce believe we are kin. So intent is he to prove that you are unneeded, that he dashed into the forest all alone, boasting that he would placate every last elemental and save the forest all by himself. Needless to say, such a task is far beyond his powers. There's a part of me that would like nothing more than to see the foolish boy learn his lesson, and yet, as his sister, I fear for him. Would you go look after him, Serenia? Seedseer or no, he is in many ways still a child. The forest grows ever more unsafe these days. I thought to go myself, but if you were to save my brother from his own recklessness, perhaps he might finally see how fatuous he has been. When last I spoke with him, he announced his intentions to begin his efforts in the bramble patch. With any luck, you may still find him there. Now please go in haste, before some ill fate befalls him. And remember, bramble patch is in the East Shroud. If it isn't my sister's favorite adventurer. Come to show me up, have you? Well, you can march right back and tell sister what I'm doing just fine. I'm only resting. Even if I were hurt and unable to placate this tree, what could a run-of-the-mill adventurer like you do about it? Come, show up. See? This is how it's done. Sparkle. Pfft, beginner's luck. If you think healing a sapling or two is going to convince me that you are a worthy inheritor of the teachings of Master A-Towa, A-Ruhn, you yourself do not believe these words. Sister, what are you doing here? Seeing to my pig-headed brother's safety. What do you think I am doing? For better or worse, it would appear you only suffer from bruises to your legs and your pride. A-Ruhn, for all your obstinacy, I know that deep down you are no fool. No, you're wise beyond your years. You realize as well as I the dire fate that will befall Gridania if we do not quell the Great One's fury and restore peace to the wood. The adventurer is no pudger, that's true. But what of it? Would you blindly trumpet tradition as the very forest turns against us and brings ruin to our home? We have a greater calling to answer, you know this. I do, sister. Oh, my dear A-Ruhn, what are sisters for, if not to not forgive their little brother's fits of folly? Now, Sylvania, I believe the most important task of all still awaits us. Let us return to Camp Tranquil. Seems A-Ruhn learned his lesson. Character growth. Serenia, thank you. I know it was only a matter of time before A-Ruhn came around to reason, and yet his hesitance to accept you wasn't entirely unfounded. Okay. When we first met, I promised that one day I would share with you the tale of how white magic came to be a forbidden art. Well, I suppose this is as good a day as any for the telling. The tale begins some 3 millennia ago in the 5th astral era. It was a time of the endless frost, when a barren wasteland of snow and rime stretched as far as the eye could see. Food was scarce and warmth scarcer. The histories hold many a grim tale of those who died in their beds, starving and benumbed. So did our ancestors discover magic, born out of a fundamental instinct: survival. In time, the winter thawed, and magic was no longer essential for survival. But once awakened to its conveniences, there was no returning to how things once were. Ere long, the people discovered all the myriad ways in which magic could be employed, and civilization flourished. But prosperity breeds contempt, and nations warred for power and riches. So did the people seek greater and greater power to rain destruction down upon their enemies. So was born black magic, the most devastating form of sorcery the world has ever seen. At the same time, another form of magic emerged, brought forth by those who would keep this immense destructive power in check. That is white magic. Our magic. Does this surprise you? Just as there can be no dawn without a night, but white and black are but two sides of the same coin. War waged on and magic was used and abused with little concern for the consequences. And consequences were rare. Unchecked use of magic soon dried the flow of ether, threatening to bring blight to the land. The magic of healing? It made little difference. If used with no concern for the ether, our magic could prove as ruinous to the land as the most devastating black magic spell. And so it was that the practicing of white magic was forbidden, with one exception. The Pajal, our kind, were entrusted as sole shepherds of a now forbidden art, to serve as healers and bringers of peace, while ensuring that this great power would never again be misused. Though he's still young, A-Ruhn feels this profound sense of responsibility as strong as any of us, and thus his hesitance to accept you. But having seen your abilities and the sincerity of your intentions, you can rest assured his doubts have been dispelled. With the three of us united in place and purpose, and your skill ever growing, the day that we may perform the quieting draws near. To our fortune, the Great One has not yet been entirely consumed by fury, but our time remains short. To commune with the Great One and restore the 12th sword to its former state of harmony, we must truly be one of heart, one of mind. It is to this end that A-Towa Cant has guided you to us. Further your mastery of our art, Serenia, and let us mend the wounds of the wood together. That sounds great. I will do my best. And we learn Cure 3. That's a rather impressive area here. But you don't really need it all that often. A-Towa Cant speaks unto you, imparting newfound powers. Okay, but with that I will end this episode, and we continue when the White Mage is further leveled up. Until next time then, I am Ace,